But I have a new respect for shakers, bladesmiths, because they're a pain in the ass to make. They're fun to make.
Really?
But they're a hell of a lot of work.
Yeah. Huh.
I'm going to be going for another month or two on this.
Hey, listen, hey.
Stay a while and listen.
Who is this?
I need your help for some foul purpose.
I have a bad case of diarrhea. I have a bad case of diarrhea. I have a bad case of diarrhea. I have a bad case of diarrhea.
I'm Will.
I'm Will.
This is the Wills of the Wisp podcast.
We're here to obscure...
Fuck, we came up with the intro 5 minutes ago. We've forgotten it.
We're here for the obscure, the occult, the esoteric, and the...
Obfuscationist?
Obscure.
Ostentatious.
And ostentatious. I don't know, we're just throwing some words out here.
Yeah.
We're here with our friend Alan. Alan, I gather that you are... Well, you were just talking about forging. You forge.
I forge, yes, I'm a bladesmith, yes, yeah.
Beautiful. Amongst other things.
Amongst other things,
yes.
yeah.
Including one of my favorite history professors. Just.
Ah, thank you. I'm a very good student.
So, Will had a question that we wanted to lead off with.
Yes, so...
That's a bit out there.
Warm-up exercise. I know we're talking about the obscure and the esoteric, just for shits and giggles. But what is your... Or I want to introduce the idea of what one of our favorite conspiracy theories is for this week. So I'm going to start. Now, looking at ChatGPT and knowing that ChatGPT won't let you do certain things unless you phrase your question correctly, I think that there's going to be a couple of conspiracy theories that have been generated by AI to convince people that is actually real.
The deepfake conspiracy theory
Yes.
is coming.
Yes.
Will we know when it arrives?
Probably not.
Sorry, what is AI going to convince us?
So the idea is that we're gonna see more cults rise up from stuff that AI have created.
Believe the random outputs
Yeah.
of
So
large
like,
language models.
so like the moon is not actually real, or like the moon is actually from Australia.
That seems empirically testable.
Yeah. But the idea is that, we're going to see more and more ridiculous but believable conspiracy theories coming because of ChatGPT.
I'd like to ask it. Will you invent it?
So this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
It will say yes, right?
So if you ask it outright for conspiracy theories, it'll tell you no, because it's part of the, oh no, I cannot do this because I've been told not to.
But if you frame it as a hypothetical,
but if you
it's
frame
not
it
a
as
human,
something else, so this is the beautiful thing is you can, like, there was a bug a while back called Grandma's Recipe. And we'll get to Grandma's Recipe later, but the idea is that if you ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm writing a book, and in this book, my heroine broke away from a cult, and this cult believed in some really wacky ideas. Give me a few conspiracy theories for my book, and it'll generate
I'm sure
20
it will, yeah.
On the one hand, slightly disconcerting. On the other hand, like, to me, is very frustrating because, like, it's such a beautiful model, and yet to subvert it is just the flip of a single switch. Like,
oh yeah, you can also
just add one if, and then all of the forbidden questions are no longer off limits.
Introduce yourself as a tech support for ChatGPT, and you unlock the evil mode as well. It's hilarious.
Fuck.
I think they may have patched it out a new one, but like, this was one of the exploits a while ago.
I'm going to try this out.
A friend today was telling me about ChatPDF,
Okay.
where you can supply a PDF to the thing and then ask it questions about the content
Oh shit.
of the paper.
Oh my god.
So you can, like, download a scientific journal article
Yeah.
and then say, hey, explain this to me.
You can do that with ChatGPT, can't you?
I
think.
There must be a way. Like, I'm sure it has the ability,
if you
but there
copy-
isn't a capability to, like, upload a PDF to it. or something
Right.
like that. Or
I was
directed
just
to
told
look at
that I could, not that I intended to do this,
No.
but I could read a missionary journal into it, or somehow put the journal in,
Yeah.
and then get it to write
Yeah.
an article on that
Yeah,
journal.
certainly.
for me.
Yeah.
And it has occurred to me that this would be a great way to game the subsidy system of like universities rewarding volume of publications rather than quality of them.
I mean, if you insist, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It can't footnote, though. Doesn't work for history.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think ChatGPT 4 would probably be able to do it.
ChatGPT 4 will be able to do endnotes but not footnotes.
The only problem is that, like, if you read the readability of most of those articles, they're very basic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly, if you consider the readability of articles in actual journals,
I
they're
know,
sometimes even more basic.
I mentioned this to a friend who was also lecturing in the classics department. I was like, you'll probably pick up if they show off with ChatGPT things, because it reads like an 8-year-old had written. And my friend
Explain
was
it to a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, but the problem is that the first years sound like 8-year-olds trying to explain things to 5-year-olds. I was like,
Although we picked up 3 cases
yeah.
quite easily
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
using software.
Yeah.
It's obvious that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
didn't write it.
Yeah.
Mm. Look, I mean, certainly for people who are working with like coding and stuff, throwing your code at ChatGPT and saying fix this works beautifully.
Yes.
Um,
And presumably you could do that with a draft of a paper
exactly.
if you are the kind of student who.
If
Can't
you need
write
to like
good and stuff.
quickly like fix things.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But somehow I don't think that's going to be the average first year university students.
Nope.
Right? It'll be write my paper for me rather than
Yeah.
help
Oh my
me
God.
frame these arguments that I
Yeah.
have already thought of.
No, exactly.
The conspiracy theory that I learned about today was something called the Tartarian Empire.
Okay.
Does this ring a bell to either of
Yes. Yes.
you? It's like this, I think it's Soviet era,
Yes.
like mathematician had this idea that history is, like our chronology is all fucked up, and basically a lot of things that we think are old are actually much more recent.
Right.
And the notion is like, look at all of these neoclassical architectural motifs that show up across the world. This must be the vestiges of a great empire.
Shit.
Including like the New York Public Library.
Right.
And the Hagia Sophia, and
yes!
like anything with a dome and a spire. And the gargantuan scale was, presented to be like, these must be people who were 12 feet tall.
One of my favorite channels at the moment is the Armored Skeptic, and he does this whole series of History is a Lie, and he talks about
History is a lie, though.
He talks about that as well. He looks at the different flood points across the world, and like the older cities. So like you've got like flood points and mud spots in England, for instance, and why photos were taken when no one is around. Thinking, there must have been something that happened, and we all casually forgot about it.
Aye. It's perverse to me that we are completely willing to engage in the same degree of sort of erasure of fact that we lampoon.
Yeah.
Is history a lie?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the historian's production about the past, so depends on the historian what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no historian who knows the objective truth.
There's no such thing as
And I
the
suppose right. Few historians who would grant the existence thereof even.
Yeah.
I once almost didn't get a job because I argued that history wasn't a science. Yeah. And they didn't want to employ me.
But it's not as...
I am perplexed by the need for such an argument.
It wasn't here, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
Huh.
That's all.
Do you have a favorite conspiracy theory?
I don't, I'm afraid. I wish I did have.
That's fair.
That's fair.
If I thought of one, I can think of one, but it's going to take a while to. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we have you back next?
I'll think of a favorite conspiracy theory by next time.
Yeah, actually, I think that's great.
Maybe the Illuminati, actually.
Oh!
Maybe the Illuminati.
Yeah.
I think we probably need to do a whole episode on the Illuminati.
I think
at
we
some
should.
point.
Yeah.
I'd quite like to come for the Illuminati.
Yes,
one.
please.
We'll pencil it in.
We'll pencil in,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so, Illuminati and Masons.
No, we had this classic thing where somebody approached me once saying they wanted to become a Freemason
So they can
because
join the
they've
Illuminati.
always wanted to be part of the Illuminati. And I said, but we're not the Illuminati. And he said, but you have to tell me that.
Did he also ask if you were undercover?
Yep.
Yeah. No.
Shame we didn't take him. We didn't pursue that. But he's still convinced we're the Illuminati.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I like. One of my favorite books is Robert Anton Wilson's The Illuminati's trilogy,
I don't know.
which basically he was one of those head trippy polymaths in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And he had some really fun ideas, which then spun off into Discordianism, which is kind of chaos magic, which is
Like the
super-
app?
No,
Okay.
no. So the idea is that you're worshipping the holy cow, or holy chaos, right? So it's, cow is CHAO.
Oh, the cows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The holy cow. And like, so he explained, like, he parodies, like, he writes a trilogy of books which manages to parody a lot of the detective novels. So detective novels, James Bond, and like a few others, in a kind of like hodgepodge pseudo-history kind of thing, looking at like the Illuminati and where it all started from, and like deep history, and like it's fucking hilarious.
This sounds utterly ridiculous. And
It's
also
absolutely
very
fucking ridiculous.
moving.
So like, so you've got all these different factions that the Illuminati controls, who don't know that they're also controlled by the Illuminati. So you've got like you've got, for instance,
We're the Illuminati. No, you're not.
Like radical Christian group going against.
They have
like,
to be the Illuminati.
So yeah, so you've got one branch of the Illuminati running these, and you've got another branch of Illuminati creating the liberal front, and then you've got like a whole bunch of others who are like running different sections of these like splinter parties just for shits and giggles to keep everything kind of noisy, and it's beautiful.
Are there any Illuminati that know they're in charge?
No.
Or they
I
all
think-
like just...
Like, so I've been messaged by a few people on WhatsApp being like, hey, do you want to join the Illuminati? I'm like, mate, I'm already part of the Illuminati. Send me like 1 million Bitcoin so that I can redeem your soul, because ha ha ha, hail Satan.
Are they going to tell you Viagra after this?
No.
And or
It's
have you
actually
sent money to a
the
Nigerian
best,
prince?
The best way to get someone is like someone who's trying to
Oh.
hack you to say,
Don't fuck with me, I'm in the Illuminati.
So no, you just say welcome to the Church of welcome to the Church of Satan, by messaging the Holy Temple of the unholy temple of like Lower Albany. You have forfeited your soul. Please send us 100 Bitcoin in order for us to release your soul, or send us a selfie, and you're now part of the Satanic Temple. Did I not get blocked like a motherfucker? Like, it was an instant block. I was just like, yes!
I was hoping you were going to get a selfie.
Oh no, it was great. I loved it.
But the Illuminati are operating from East London at the moment.
Really?
There's some guy there that will recruit you.
Oh
That's-
yes! Yo,
Yes.
we got one of those at work the other day. We got an email from them. We were just like, oh, spam.
We'll save that for when we have a proper
A
episode, which may
Illuminati.
now involve a gonzo journalism. Alan, why is a sword?
Yes.
Why is a sword a sword? Is a sword a sword? What is a sword? That's the one.
What is sword?
Sword is the soul of the person that makes it. Let me get all full of shit.
That's really
Okay.
profound.
No, that's a beautiful
Okay.
way to start
Okay.
things off.
So the act of making a sword sounds fundamentally different than the act of making, let's say, a club.
Yeah,
Or
if you forge a sword, you have to put yourself into it in a way that you don't with any other object that you make. Because you have to start by thinking that steel is a liquid, which is quite a mind shift.
Yeah.
But
You can't view if you view steel as solid, you can't manipulate it.
However, if you heat it up to the right temperature,
It's
But
still
you-
solid. It's still solid.
solid.
yeah, I
but
thought
it's
you don't get a
liquid.
good sword by pouring into
No,
a
no, you
mold or
don't pour
whatever.
it. No.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, you have to view that solid thing as if it's a liquid. It's a mind shift.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't want to get all weird, but
Oh no, this is why
Oh,
we want
yeah,
you here.
that's
Like,
weird.
get weird, get
but
as weird as you
swords
want.
get bored.
Yeah.
The sword shapes itself. You don't shape the sword.
All right.
Ah.
You know that makes a lot of sense. But that's also because I've been reading a lot of alchemy and a lot of hermeticism at the moment. So
The sword wants to be born. You
Yeah.
help it to be born.
Yeah.
You, like a midwife, is a bit extreme.
Or
but,
a doula. The sword
but
doula.
you don't know when you start what it's going to turn out to
Right.
be.
Huh.
You know you're going to make a whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you don't know how it's going to be.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
And you have to well, I have to. I think most people have to concentrate on nothing else. I don't get all weird and not have sex while I'm doing it or anything.
Is
They-
that part of a
Is
tradition?
that
That
like a
used to be
thing?
part of the tradition. yeah.
But is this then where the sword gets born, not made narrative comes from? It's like,
Yeah, well, I mean, people used to make, like, the forge used to, when the bellows fitted in,
Yeah.
they used to be shaped like a penis. And
Right.
right.
the entrance to the forge used to be shaped like a vagina.
Right.
And
I don't know.
So-
It was just for that whole idea.
because there's a whole, like, giving birth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how far the metaphor stretches. Like, what are the
You can
moves,
stretch
the
it
sword
as far
production?
as you want. I mean, if you want to be really sexist, you can't have women near it because their menstrual blood will interfere with it.
Is that...
I don't subscribe.
No, but is that a trope?
That is a trope.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
I mean, in Africa, certainly women were not allowed near forges.
Yeah.
Well,
Old women were, because as long as they weren't menstruating.
As long as they weren't bleeding. they were
but there's
fine.
also like a tradition of not trusting the blacksmith, right? Is like, I had a colleague years ago who was working on the blacksmith language of, some region in Cameroon. And he was like, oh, only the blacksmiths know this language, and it's because everyone's a little suspicious of the blacksmith. Because
No, but isn't that also because like blacksmithing is a kind of closed practice though?
It
I mean,
has-
if
that was
Yeah.
his explanation.
if we're looking at this idea of making a sword is also a magical experience, right? I'm take.
I'll go further with that.
Let's
in a
go with
minute
that.
if you
Okay,
want.
so
Yeah.
so if we take this idea that creating a sword is like birthing, so it becomes a magical property. So you with most closed practices, you don't want a lot of people knowing who don't practice it, knowing what goes into it, right?
Right. You want to keep it a secret how the
So
sausage is
creating
made.
your own language, for instance, or creating your own kind of way to communicate makes sense
Sure.
to talk to people to make sure you can communicate what you've experienced while you're doing your thing, so that you're not telling
But
people.
also, this is like
Yeah.
a reason to do it behind closed doors. And,
Yeah.
But you don't want anybody to be able to do it.
Mm.
In the early Iron Age,
Yeah.
the smith was in the center of the village and people would watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
as technology developed, the smith would move into the forest or behind closed doors, and it became secretive because you didn't want everybody learning your trade secrets.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you still get it. You get both extremes nowadays. Once you enter bladesmithing, you find how incredibly helpful some people are, and how wonderful they are at demystifying it. I mean, the kind of most closed people are, or supposedly the most closed, are the Japanese swordsmiths.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple that I communicate with rather amusingly because we don't have a language in common. So we use Google Translate. And I get pictures of a piece of wood that says, "Look at this lovely virgin." I'm still quite not sure what he's saying. But Japanese swordsmiths theoretically won't pass on their secrets, but some do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one guy I communicate with who's very well known, but who, I asked him, one of the big things is if you want to get clay to stick to the blade so you can differentially harden it. Every Japanese swordsmith has his secret recipe.
And they don't all use the same.
They don't all use the same. And I asked him, thinking he's never going to tell me, what do you do? And he said, anything that you can fucking get to stick, use that.
And this is why they don't all have the same recipe.
This is why it's a mystery sometimes. Because we don't want to tell people it's that fucking obvious, man.
Yeah. But it's I mean, the process is... I've always thought if someone wants to come and cause shit with me in my forge, it's the wrong place. You don't cause shit with the bladesmith in their forge because they are working with magical forces.
Also, I would assume they will fuck you up.
How quickly do you want to die?
Yeah, they'll cut your fucking head off. Besides that, there's like, if you want to get extreme, there's like demons running around in there. There's things happening.
So that actually, that's a beautiful little spot to just stick with, right? So
I believe this shit, by the way.
how do you think John Dee affected modern forgery or modern blacksmithing?
Point of order, who is John Dee?
John Dee was the Queen's magician.
Oh, okay.
He was responsible for the Abramelin.
Yeah, this rings a bell.
A few different things.
D-D-E-E, it's not an initial.
Also the angelic language. Fuck, I forget.
Oh, Enochian.
Enochian, yes. So the idea of high magic, right? How involved is high magic in, blacksmithing? How much can you tell me? Tell us.
Can't tell you too much. There's demons running around.
Look, where it comes in is, think about it. You can do the same thing. He better remain anonymous because he'll kick my ass. But there's a bladesmith in South Africa who would be German, sorry, but he is, who wears a white coat.
Yeah.
And engraved on that coat is "to measure is to know." He takes it very seriously. He works for a car company. Right. His blades fuck out sometimes.
Okay.
But he measures exactly, and he has temperature control equipment. I work on color. Is the steel orange or straw colored or red but he has and even with all that measuring, sometimes it fucks out.
Sometimes you just gotta go with
and
your gut.
Sometimes that has to, what do? You turn to magic.
Right? You just have to go with your gut.
Yeah.
Will and I at one point were talking about, I think it was Friday during our Yule celebration. We were talking about telling the difference in sound between cold water.
Oh yeah, you can totally tell if you pour a cup of cold water or a cup
when
of
your
boiling
water
water.
is just right. It's one of those
Well, I'm not sure you can tell when it's just right.
I can though.
Okay, maybe you can. I'm not sure everyone can.
No, I think.
But there's a certain amount of experience, right? It's like to tell difference between cold and hot seems like a way easier task than knowing, is this just right for my tea?
Yeah.
But if you look at a piece of steel that's, I mean, I was hardening steel this morning.
Yeah.
You look at a piece of steel, you're aiming for a color which I can't describe, not because I'm being secretive.
Oh, that orange
but
that doesn't
because,
show up on the camera.
Yeah, but it's also it's kind of, I describe it. I can't describe it.
That's
but
okay.
that color.
Yeah.
I can't tell you it's that color or it's but I know when it's got to that color.
Yeah.
And that's a feeling. That's not a So that has to be some other level of consciousness.
Oh no, I mean I can totally relate. In my other off work life I dabble. I say dabble. I do rune readings and I do bind runes and everything else. And you can tell, or I can tell specifically, not like I go in using the semi-scientific method of going, I'm not like some tarot readers will go, we need specific questions. I feel like the specific questions taint your reading completely. Like if you're going to do a reading, you go in completely not knowing anything and you go, okay, cool. So these are the themes I'm picking up. So it's not
all
necessarily
about discerning signal
like
from noise.
It's not asking the person you're doing the reading for specific issues or whatever, but you can go, these are the themes that I'm seeing. Is this relevant to you, or is this something that you can understand? And 9 times out of 10 people go, how the fuck did you know that? I'm just like, this is what I saw. So I get that whole magical gut as well.
Yeah, the magician is not always the same thing, or the wheel of fortune.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
In tarot reading.
No, exactly.
I used to read tarot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've started. I've got a crow deck. Yeah, but I now work with runes more. It's a lot more accurate for me.
Yeah, but they're tools to see
it's a tool. That's the thing. Just learning the runes, for instance, was the first step. The next step is learning the kind of meta language that's linked to just like you're learning your ABCs, and so you're learning now your basic words to create and destroy and do whatever you need to. So you start learning. As you know your basics, you start learning how to shape your reality, which is always fun. And then you kind of fuck out and go, oh god, I'm panicking too much and I'm creating this horrible reality for myself because, oh my god, I can't change my mind. Yeah. Anyway.
Steel.
Yeah.
You work mostly in steel? Do you work only in steel?
I only work in steel. I do like brass fittings. And
but it's
the blades are steel.
I was thinking about this earlier. Like, does a sword need to have a metal blade? If it's made out of wood, is it no longer a sword? And I think the answer you gave us earlier, that a sword is born, does not preclude that.
I still want to make a bronze sword. I haven't made one yet, but that's an aim of mine.
So, bronze obviously has a lower melting point than steel.
Yeah.
Because I know steel works at about, 1.2K degrees Celsius?
Yeah.
Depends on the formulation.
Yeah, but 1.2 is 1.2 to 1.5
is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm thinking in the wrong degrees. Damn America.
What's that in freedoms per second?
12 eagle.
Or
and one crocodile.
Dolphins per poodle.
Oh.
Yeah. If you want to make Damascus steel, you wait until it looks like butter.
Right.
So it's just like
Butter.
Yeah, it like when butter starts melting, you get that kind of
Okay.
Texture-wise, not color-wise.
Yeah.
I was thinking, it seems weird for it to turn yellow.
No.
But like, so this is stuck with me as an interesting question. Is like, I know that there are copper blades that exist, right? And various other sort of like King
copper's
Tut
too soft
famously
there,
had
yeah.
like
A meteor
meteor iron, yeah.
They ship blades.
And I'm sure that there are
but,
gold blades that are made for ceremonial kinds of things.
Yeah.
And what got me started thinking about this, ironically, was werewolves and like the silver blade to kill a werewolf.
Yeah.
But
you can
that
kill
seems
with
like
a-
not something that really
All
exists,
you can
right?
kill with a silver blade is a werewolf.
Yeah.
Because it's
I mean,
not gonna
it's
kill
silver. Like, you can barely...
You cannot even kill flies.
You can't even cut a
Trees.
piece of bread with silver.
Yeah. So is the blade material always determined by function of like what's the hardest thing available that's convenient to work? Because obviously we don't use diamond.
There's a balance. You want it to be hard, but if it's too hard, it's
Right,
going to
it's brittle.
shatter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want that, like, nimbleness.
Yeah. So, and that's what you spend your whole life trying to achieve, is that balance.
Yeah.
And also with sharpness, because if it's too sharp, it gets blunt.
Mhm.
Scalpel sharp gets blunt quickly.
Ah.
But kind of lesser blunt, lesser sharpness
Yeah.
doesn't cut what you want it to cut.
Yeah. Huh. Huh. I thought I had a follow-up question, but I lost it.
But yeah, you could use other things besides steel. But
So you
Steel is
mentioned
But
Damascus steel.
ceramic and glass seem like the other obvious things, right? And maybe they're too brittle?
no, they sell fancy blades. I've never seen one, but they sell fancy ceramic blades now.
We have
do you
one,
have
and
it?
in
Yeah.
fact, we broke it.
Right.
Because it was too brittle. My wife broke it cutting a protea.
I'd like to try obsidian as well.
Yeah.
You don't kind of
It's
find
great,
the
great,
rocks
great,
of
great for
obsidian
great for the undead as well.
Yeah.
Also, it looks just
You can rip out
badass.
parts
Right?
and- yeah.
I mean, who else can say yes? This athame of mine is totally a obsidian athame. Whoops.
Is that how you pronounce that word?
Yes.
Thank you.
That is how I have pronounced that word, and I'm pretty sure people are like, no, it's a Phoebe. But honestly,
There is a certain, like,
as far as like,
generation age of, like, young men who will know a certain strangely deep number of names for types of blades from playing video games.
listen,
And mostly from, like, tier-based
I read a
games
lot
where
of,
you have to learn
I
a dirk
read
is
a
not
lot
a dagger,
of
is not a
fantasy. I
falchion,
read a
is
lot
not
of
a...
David Gemmell, and like
Yeah.
David Gemmell has this whole beautiful. Oh no, the other one. Fuck yes, it was Gemmell. Gemmell's whole like Russ the Legend, and you know him working in the forges, and you're like, oh my god, you know, being blacksmithy is really cool, and yeah, I think I was going there with someone.
So let me ask about that, since you are the bladesmith expert in the room. Why are there so many shapes?
One is function.
Okay.
Depends what you want to do with it, how you'll shape it. Two is it wants to be born that way, but
Ah.
How do you know it wants to be born? Is there like a I suppose
what do you
it
respond
bites
to?
you.
so like
If it
so, like,
doesn't want to be born.
is there something
There's one that
Oh, yes.
welded itself to my hand.
is there like
kind of said that
something
I-
that you do to know when it's ready? Is there like a preparation process when you're trying to plan out your blade to know that the shape will take it, or is it just kind of
You
as
start,
you're hammering it out, it takes shape?
you start with an idea of what
Yeah.
you want to make.
Yeah.
But then the final shape, unless you stock remove,
Yeah.
if you stock remove, you can make
Yeah.
3,000 blades that
Yeah.
are exactly the same.
But
But if you're going to forge a blade, even if you try to make them the
Yeah.
same, they won't turn out the
Sorry,
same.
what's the difference between those two?
Stock removing is taking steel and cutting away
Yeah.
what's not
it's grinding
with a
grinding.
laser
down.
cutter
Yeah.
and grind down,
Okay.
which is what like
But even that, I wouldn't... I mean, isn't there inherent variability in the piece of metal?
Yeah, they never turn out exactly the same. I must admit, I sometimes cheat on stock remove. If I'm in a hurry, I stock remove.
Well, I mean, it seems like one of the tools in the toolbox,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do, but sometimes blades take their own shape, don't they?
An elderly
Yeah.
Japanese man once told me, cheat is technique.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. And breaking the chains of tradition, though.
Is also
But
wait,
you have
is
to
also
know
cheat
that
or
it
is
is-
also technique?
Yeah, but you need to have the technique before you can break it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, agreed. You need to know your basics before you move away from those basics
Yeah.
as well.
So I know that there exist traditional weapons. I want to say that maybe these are from a Maori tradition and or that there's a Central American thing of like piece of wood with, say, shark teeth
Yeah,
embedded
yeah,
in the
yeah.
side. Is that a sword?
I would say yes,
Okay.
Okay.
but some people would say no. Some
But-
people would be very purist about what is a sword.
Sure. I'm curious
Some
where
people
your
want to be
intuition comes
called
from.
professor, and some people don't.
Right.
So, you know, if it's sharp and it cuts, it could be.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
blade, certainly.
But I could imagine, like, when you're working with something organic, like, let's say, fucking shark teeth, that, like, the randomness might be on par with, and, you know, it bites you if you try to force it into the wrong shape,
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
Like, that strangely, some of the characteristics of making the thing
Yeah.
would be shared when you wouldn't necessarily expect that.
Yeah, but steel does the same. It won't go where it doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could also argue that steel is also organic. It's just purified in its state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. For a certain definition of
Yeah.
organic, it's not, and that's the most boring
I
definition
mean,
of organic.
what you could argue is it's the purest state of an organic matter.
Well,
Because
okay.
all the impurities had been burned away in order for it
What
to
is steel chemically? It's mostly iron, but then with impurities in the
It's got
crystalline
carbon, it's
structure,
got carbon,
and
and then it's got manganese. It's got depends what kind you.
Yeah. So
I mean, I work with high carbons.
Yeah.
But then it's got manganese
Yeah.
and things in it as well.
And do you ever add stuff to it?
My blood quite often.
So iron and
iron and blood.
and sugar is not an element. Fuck.
No. I used to get quite carried away with like chucking incense powder on.
Oh.
Kind of dragon's blood incense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Just because it was like working out quite expensive.
Right. Yeah. You know that
And I
there's
don't think it did much for the steel.
you know there's a dragon's blood plant in
What is dragon's blood other
So-
than the circulatory fluid of a dragon?
So there's a tree in Bots that
Oh,
has,
the dragon blood tree
that has the dragon
from
blood
Socotra.
thingy.
Yeah.
So a lot
What
of
is it? Sorry.
So it's a tree that produces like really beautiful juice.
Uh-huh.
I'm not using the right word here.
Sap?
Sap,
So
yeah.
it produces the sap, which is then used to create the incense, which is also then used to use like dragon's blood extracts and stuff. So it ends up being a lot cheaper if you know where to look in Bots.
Right.
Anyway, we'll mask the GPS coordinates when we release the episode.
Oh yeah. Well, look, Bots can also be Cape Town.
Choosh. Hey.
Yeah. So yeah, at least that's what
You
what
showed me the tree.
I still need to find out where it is. I know Andrew does. A friend of mine.
It's the kind of thing that Garth may know as well.
Garth
Yes.
might know.
Yeah.
Like one of my other interests is also researching smells as well.
Really?
Which is very much like blacksmithing because the smell will make itself known to you if you know its basics. So like my friend Andrew has been working on this thing which is the smell of amber.
Oh.
It's a
And
nice title for a book.
So you've got your rock rose, you've got your various, you've got Dusty Piss.
What are these things?
It's
Are these
literal Dusty Piss.
Because
Yeah, so like they
Wait, what? It's
so-
a plant, or it's
so,
a
like,
grain of amber,
you've
or
got
it's
rock-
a dossier is
you've got
peeing
rock,
on me?
rock rose oil, which is a Middle Eastern smell, like a Middle Eastern.
These are all just types of myrrh.
Yes, essentially.
Okay. Or
But
frankincense.
you've got this like beautiful. Well, it's been known as the smell of pharaohs, or the smell of the rock rose.
Because they like to get freaky in that way, or
Kind of, but it's that like really
Huh.
like it's just a beautiful royal smell, and like it's really hard to describe, but it's got that like.
humans are bad at describing smells.
do royal people smell different to the rest of us?
I don't know, but I think they also like.
Smell unhealthy.
It's like, well, we better like perfume up to hide the fact that we haven't bathed in 3 weeks.
Mostly arsenic, some
but
mercury.
I know that with like that you've got anointment oils as well.
Yeah.
So like
Frankincense.
Yeah.
but you've also got Crowley's whole idea of using I think cinnamon extract and clove was one of the 2 main ingredients of his like purification oil. The idea is to bring yourself to a state where you can acknowledge God
Sounds like it involves a lot of sneezing.
and sex. Yes. Don't worry.
No, I
mean,
there's got to be someone out there in the world who's like real into sneezing as a thing.
I'm sure they
And
like
that must be
look-
so awkward for their partner the first time it happens.
Rule 16 of the internet. Right, rule
43? 34?
No. Rule
27.
What's the porn one? If
Fuck,
it
I don't
exists,
know.
there's porn of it. Anyway, so if it exists, there's porn of it. So if someone's into sneezing, there's definitely someone out there who it will happen.
Man.
What if he's one of our listeners? Holy shit. Or they are one of our listeners.
It'll be he. I don't know why I have that intuition, but I do.
Yeah.
Human intuition is strange.
Mm.
So, the other question I wanted to ask. I know a little teeny, like I went to a talk many moons ago about Japanese traditional blade making. And one of the things that blew my mind was like the composition of the blade as having multiple different types of steel.
Yeah.
Could you speak a little bit about that?
Okay, the word Damascus is in fact debatable. I call it Damascus, but there's a whole argument about whether it should be called that or not. The purists would say it's called pattern steel.
Ah.
Yes, but what you do is you take steels that have different properties.
Mm-hmm.
You forge weld them together. So you stack them.
Mm-hmm.
La 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 la. You can't see the la 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 on the table.
No, but now that you explained it, it's so much more clear actually.
You stack them.
Mm-hmm.
You hammer them together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you fold them in half.
Right.
And then you carry on doing that.
Right.
So you're starting with things of different composition.
You're starting with things.
So it's making layers that
It's
are
making
alternate,
layers, yeah.
not layers of the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
And think about it, if maths is not my strong point, I have to do sums every time I do this. Like you start with 2.
Right.
Then when you fold it, you get 4,
Yeah.
8,
Yeah.
16.
2 to the end.
Yeah. So there's a fancy word.
2 to the end. Yeah,
So-
exponentially.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So the most I've made is I think about 1,900, which is much easier if you have a power hammer or a plate.
Yeah.
Doing it with your arm is not much fun. That's why I need a shoulder up at the moment.
Yeah. Shame.
Oh, shame.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear.
Mm.
So the reason the Japanese did it was because they had shit steel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they were trying to improve the qualities of the steel.
Huh.
They had iron
yeah,
sand, which
yeah.
they made a thing called tamahagane.
Mm.
But because it wasn't very pure, they made. But now it's become, and if you're really good at it, I mean, you can get the most amazing patterns.
Huh.
Mm.
Cool.
I've seen things like shows like that are forged in fire and stuff where you've got blacksmiths who are duking it out to make things and why is the quality of so you mentioned earlier the fact that you didn't like asteroid metal. Why?
Because it's got too much crap in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you need to use a lot more in order for it to actually make.
Well, you've got stuff that affects the hardness
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's got any kind of space crap.
Presumably
in
makes it too
yeah.
hard rather than too soft.
Or just fucked up composition.
Right. Uh-huh.
And then, yes, linked to that, Damascus steel. Where does that name come from? Is it from? So it's obviously from like Persia.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So just because I'm trying to think of it, I can't think of the Japanese word for it at the moment. But it means tree bark
Right.
because it looks like the bark
Looks
of a
like
tree.
tree bark, okay.
And as soon as I walk out of here, I'll remember.
It'll come back to you. It's
that,
fine.
Yeah.
We can always add it in post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming we have it.
No, it's going to be like a terrible CGI voiceover. Like,
The word he was looking
Microsoft
for.
Sam just for shooting.
but so what I'm wondering is like, where does the knowledge of the usefulness of this come from? Like, to what extent is this a deliberate innovation or invention, and to what extent is it like happy accidents?
The received orthodoxy is that swords were breaking.
Okay.
And there was a daimyo who came back from war and kind of insulted the swordsmith
Yeah.
and said, "Look, all your fucking blades broke." It's, and he like sat and worked and worked
So
and
there
worked.
was like a scientist.
There was like
A
but in
guy.
fact it probably was lots of guys.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you work out this plant is poisonous unless you
Shout out to the homies who ate the poisonous
yeah,
plants.
but you work out like it's not poisonous if you throw the water away and reboil like cassava.
Or if you have a pregnant woman put menstrual blood into
Yes,
it and then
yeah.
spit in it,
So
then
somebody
it's
like
fine.
kept on, or many people kept on
Yeah.
trying until
Yeah.
they came up
Okay,
with.
fair enough. Yeah.
But I mean, like the Japanese are the ones that do it the best by
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's one guy in Japan that makes 2 swords a year.
Right. Wait,
Uh,
what? That's
yeah.
not a lot.
Yeah, no, that's
swords per
two
year.
swords per year. Yeah,
But he
sells
must-
each one for over $1 million.
I was
Okay.
about to say,
Yeah.
I'm sure he gets like a decent amount of money for
Yeah,
like,
and
especially-
he's never going to finish the swords that he's got on order.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he's going to die of old age
yeah,
first.
yeah.
So,
That's great.
Unless
and I
it
mean,
starts a duel.
there's a father and son team where they try to refine a lost method of making molded steel.
Yeah.
So what happened was the father just devoted himself to that,
Yeah.
and eventually
Then
wrote
talk
it.
the son then goes, okay,
Yeah.
cool, that's good.
So there are lost methods?
There are lost methods, yeah.
That's so tantalizing.
Yeah. I found one and then lost it.
Really?
The first blade I ever made, I got a really interesting pattern defect and I wanted to do it again. So I asked a master smith, how did I do this? And he said it's metallurgically impossible to do what you've done. So I've never been able to do
You
it
have done
again.
magic.
So it may have been your initiation then with that first blade.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been trying to do it ever since. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, that seems like a good note to end on.
Right?
Like, this is a blade that was not made, it was born out of blood and sweat
Yeah.
and presumably tears.
And lots of yeah.
Oh,
There's always lots of tears. 'Cause
So,
you
And
have to do
tears
what
as
you want
well.
them to do.
yeah. Shall we end with final comments?
final comments.
Question.
What's your tagline of the day?
Just that.
Right.
You got it. Okay.
Alan, thank you so much.
No,
Alan, thank you.
That was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Oh,